And so, Your Highness, my lord apologizes with all his spirit, and begs that you will consider the difficult situation he faces personally before you judge him too harshly. Please honor the Empress by addressing her as Your Majesty. Oh, sorry, Your Majesty, yes. So what reply shall I take back, Your Majesty? Your lord has spoken most graciously, and I entirely understand the many facets of the decision I asked him to make. Please inform Lord Uesugi that while I am saddened to hear that the war must continue, I respect his judgment on the matter, and will continue to consider him among my closest and most loyal retainers. Of course, Your Majesty. Thank you. Water, please. Majesty. Thanks. Yoshio, come closer. Yes, Majesty. Is that the last of the replies? I believe so, but it is not my place to keep track of such matters, of course. Hey! You bow when you finish talking, and when you cross the threshold into the hall. Sorry, of course. Apologies, Your Majesty. Then I have failed. Nagako, send for my adjutants. I'll meet them in the library. Yes, Majesty. Now, a matter of urgency has arisen, and therefore I hereby dismiss the court for today. Thank you all once again for your loyalty. All hail the treasured Empress! Long day? Long and disappointing. Then Uesugi made his excuses too. Yep, same one as most of the others. No peace allowed. I always said they wouldn't listen. A ban on war is a rather large thing after a century of fighting. At least they can mull it over now. Mull it over while still killing each other. Not even that, killing the people on behalf of each other. And if I can't stop them, then that's the end of hoping for an end to it. So that's why you called us here. I brought all these maps. Yes, you were right, Kajiro. We will have to do it your way. Superb. Before we can truly campaign, we must secure our territories in Kansai. Ukita and Esakura must be forced to surrender direct control to the Imperial Army. Chosokabe is weak. The conquest of Shikoku will be easy from there. And, of course, a push to take Mino and Owari to the east will give us control over routes to all parts of the country. Where we march from there will be up to you. Conquer everything? Nah, I'm getting used to living here. Can't we try it my way first? What was your way again? Look, think about it this way. The lords all actually replied to your war ban, didn't they? And they grovelled, even if it was insincere. That means they recognise you as the Empress, at least, right? All you need to do is be a bigger deal. You need to make disagreeing with you be a disgrace. You suggest simply acting like a strict mother. Truly, this is your way. No, just win them over. Be nice and all. But I know you're itching for a fight, big boy, so I've already come up with something. Here, the rebels. All this area here isn't even ruled by the samurai. That's an insult to their authority or whatever, right? So we take the Imperial Army and all the Miyoshi boys, and we put an end to the rebellion. All the samurai will think you're a hero. I mean, they couldn't do it after all. Plus, the lands can be part of the direct rule fiefdom thing. Now, that's actually a brilliant idea. What have you been reading? Just the stars, darling. You're onto something. End the rebellion once and for all, and give the people leaders they don't need to rebel against. This can work. Thank you, both of you. Hello and welcome back to Nariko's Treasure, where all of a sudden it looks like the Imperial household is at war with the Iko Iki. Nariko has declared that she is going to take the Imperial army now under her command to fight the rebels. Here is the Imperial domain. It's basically the Miyoshi clan's domain. All of the officers that were under Miyoshi scattered to the wind after the capture of Kyoto and the defeat of Lord Miyoshi himself, and many of them defected to join the Imperial household's army, bringing with it all of the territory Miyoshi once held. So we've got a good strong start right here. So now we need to summon those defected lords into a grand army, because the forces of one noble aren't enough to go and capture new territory, even if that noble is the Empress herself. So I'm asking Nariko's handmaiden to send messages out to all the other lords saying that we're going to start a campaign, but I realise it's actually going to be faster for me to just go and collect them, because we only have a small territory, so all the lords are just around patrolling their various fiefs. So I went around and started collecting up those lords, and we'll get to meet all these lords as we go along, I'm sure, but it's many Miyoshi officers, I think a Chosokabe officer or two that defected over to us as well, or perhaps was already with the Miyoshi, I don't quite remember, but we've got a decent number of them, 5 or 6. Here's another Lord Hitano, who I'm just going to ask to follow me as we campaign north. It's quite easy to actually go after the Ikuiki from our position, because the main road heading east out of Kyoto leads right to the capital of the rebellion, so we can simply follow it up, defeat anyone who tries to stop us on the way, and then capture it. We'll be heading through the Asakura territory. Luckily, we have good relations with them, so they are certainly not going to stop us, and we'll continue on until we meet resistance. And we eventually do as we reach the border of the Iki lands. We see an army with about 100 troops in it, which is definitely not going to be enough to stop us, so we might as well continue on and just sweep them aside. So Nariko advances to start the battle, and a couple of the lords following us will join it, giving us a couple of 100 troops to play with here, and we'll get this fight started. We have 400 and something men all together in this fight to the enemy's 100 and something, so basically gigantic advantage. And because Nariko is the superior officer and is the lord of the clan here, she will take command of the troops from all of her vassal lords as well. They won't give their own orders in this battle, meaning she has to coordinate all these different troops. So really, rather than taking part in the battle as a warrior going out to fight enemy troops, she needs to just organize the troops and make sure our formation is as strong as possible and that everything's happening on time and as planned. The Yugo forces just advance up towards us, and Nariko's formed up a nice front line of infantry to stop them, got the Onobushi and skirmishers behind to provide support, and she still can use her gun from back here to provide some damage output as well. I was trying to get through the Onobushi here to order them to jiggle about a little bit so I can actually get through to the back. Nariko definitely doesn't want to risk herself now that her importance is far superior, and certainly no one else is going to let her risk herself. So she just orders her forces to swarm across the battlefield in her name, finding the enemies and destroying them. Quickly they are able to do that, and as I advance forward to find out what's going on, the battle ends all of a sudden. We have defeated the enemy with our forces sprawling across the map, having thoroughly routed the enemy and then slaughtered them as they tried to escape. We lost one of our Onobushi, probably to ranged fire somewhere in that battle, and our allied forces lost only 6 men, the enemy losing about 100 troops. A fantastic victory for the start of this campaign, and that of course means we can continue on up the road and head on towards the Eco capital, and we don't meet anyone until we're right in front of it here, where we actually meet the main force of the Ikuiki, their great leader, the man who started the Iko and leads them against the samurai, is here with his forces of over 200 troops. But we have combined our forces together to get over 600 troops into this battle, meaning we'll have a massive advantage. And once again, Nariko just trying to direct forces to get this battle going smoothly. I'm trying to get the cavalry to move out of the lines and go around the enemy, but it's not happening very well. And while distracted by that, the Eco forces make a pretty hefty push down into the center. Nariko was pretty close to the front, so now she needs to try and sneak back into the skirmish line before the enemy's melee line breaks through here. Luckily, the Onobushi, our heavy infantry corps, coming in to protect Nariko and try and stop the enemy getting too close, but a gap opens up in the line and Nariko has to ride through it to escape from those enemy spearmen. Problem is though, she's now behind the enemy's lines and immediately takes a hit as an enemy wielding a pike smashes her as she tries to escape. So her health really low now, but she's out in the open and free to get back to her own lines now. And we'll just direct our troops to advance all over the place and just crush the enemy locally since we have numerical advantage. The enemy do have reinforcements though, and Nariko went out to see where they were, and they're actually closer than expected just over that ridge. So she will now rush back to our lines in order to avoid the danger there, and once again we'll simply use our troops to overwhelm them. I wanted to try and form up here and get ready to receive them, but there wasn't quite enough time, so as my men tried to get into lines, I told them to just advance and take out the enemy. Once Nariko, of course, has had a little go at some sharpshooting just to take down an enemy, and in they go. So now we can swamp these enemy troops from all sides. They really should not have made this attack. They probably should have left at this point in the battle, but they fought on and were quickly defeated by our men and the troops of our allied officers, and that's going to bring the battle to a close. So that's the main force of the Iko-Iki defeated, and with the defeat of that other army earlier as well, we've probably taken out the majority of their military, considering they don't have much territory, so they're unlikely to have much more. We lost only 1 troop from our own army, although 20 wounded, and among the allied troops we lost about 90 overall, but only 12 killed, so that's not all that bad at all, and the enemy, losing over 200 killed, have been annihilated. That's all of them. I don't understand why they lasted so long if that was the sum of their strength. Simple numbers, General. Their strength could not be applied meaningfully. You say that when Nariko was almost killed. I can protect her from all manner of threats if she does what I say, but of course she never does. I understand that her old bodyguard simply let her express that bravado freely. Now there's a cause for surprise at a thing's longevity. Her old bodyguard knew her a lot better than you do. Is it that hard to know, Our Lady? Months at her side, and I'd still believe my initial assessments were correct. I could say the same about you, and immaturity is something one actually expects to change with time. Oh, do be calm, General, and remember I outrank you in the court. The mature approach would be to swallow your criticisms. But on the battlefield, you're just another useless, coddled samurai with more mouth than muscle. Oh, sorry, Nagako-san. I didn't see you. Orders? Our lady summons us. So be it. Come on then, old man. We're on the same side. Why don't we focus our energy on the war? I'll do that, and you focus on keeping Nariko alive. That's Empress Nariko. Get moving. I outrank you on the battlefield, remember? Such a complex web of authority we've been spun into. Eh, Nagako? If you say so. If it's any consolation, General, she outranks me in the court. The way is now clear for us to besiege the city of Kanazawa, the Iko-Iki capital. Inside over 300 defenders, but we have many more than that, maybe 600 troops to attack with. First, we have to prepare the city for a siege by destroying the outer gates of the castle, and from then it will allow us to do a castle assault. We have to wait 27 hours to get the sappers to go and destroy that first gate. As we wait, we can see there's an Iko army nearby, considering coming to help, but thinking better of it and running away when they see the situation. So with that done, it's time to attack. We go for a castle assault, and it simply begins right away. Our troops outside the castle ready to rush across this bridge over a moat and enter the first courtyard, where the many defenders inside will begin to use their ranged troops to bombard our men as they attempt to break through the next gate. Meanwhile, Nariko herself, having trouble since she kind of spawned inside the main body of the troops, needs to get out to avoid all that weird jostling. I've ordered our missile troops to stay outside the castle, hoping we might get a chance to snipe enemy defending troops in those galleries, and Nariko herself can certainly do it, but I don't know if the accuracy of the rest of our troops will be high enough to achieve much here, especially with the poor lines of sight. So really, we do need to advance in and take the fight to the enemy, taking one more shot at a foe there, but not actually killing him, unfortunately. I come into the courtyard, where we can already see plenty of bodies from our troops having been cut down by the enemy's ranged fire, mainly coming from that gallery on the right. They have broken down the gate, so good work from our troops, and I noticed there that on the left side, the troops overlooking the courtyard are actually melee troops. They're just standing there watching, so not too much of a threat. Far off another shot at those ranged troops, but we need to get inside because standing in the courtyard is a recipe for disaster. So I'm going to rush in and find out what's going on. There's a lot of messy combat going on at the top of the stairs, and many of my troops walking up the stairs backwards because they're concerned about the troops inside the gallery. And as I arrive, we see this very weird situation where the Eco troops are forming up in single file to attack my troops from both sides. There's also a bit of a brawl going on inside that gallery, but our troops in there are basically a lost cause because there's only a few of them and we can't reinforce properly thanks to all of the Eco troops from further in the castle swarming out to hit my men as they come up these stairs. Now Nariko has this cavalry pike that's actually very effective in sieges because you can poke at distracted enemies from a pretty decent distance away, and sometimes the defences of the castle itself will allow you to poke through gaps in walls and such without putting yourself in danger. Here we don't have that advantage, and another enemy comes out with a pike and jabs at Nariko. She takes 2 hits in rapid succession, backing into her own troops for protection after losing half of her health and switching to the sword, more effective in actual combats with enemies who are paying attention to you. So we do need to be careful from now on, because we probably can't take much more damage. Our troops seem to have cleared their way up the stairs now though, and can come into the gallery. I take a shot taking out one of the enemies inside, but then I get hit by something there. I didn't see what it was. It may have even been coming from a deeper inside the castle, some long range hit, and that wounds Nariko, and she slides back down the stairs into a relatively safe position, luckily enough. But inside the gallery our troops have completely overwhelmed the defenders and taken it. So now our way deeper into the castle is a bit more clear. So we need to go over this next moat using a bridge and break down another gate, but the defenders will be able to shoot us the whole time. Plus they have all these troops waiting behind the gate, and interestingly their spears go through it, which usually doesn't happen. Normally the gates are solid physical objects that you can't attack through, but on this particular occasion we have one that the weapons actually go through, and that's going to be a big problem because all of our troops running up to the gate immediately start taking damage from those spears. Luckily when you get beyond the tip of the spear, its damage is severely reduced. I think there's 1 or 2 damage if you're hitting them sort of with the shaft of the spear. So once our troops pile in, they are going to be able to open that gate without just being annihilated by some invincible enemies, so that's lucky enough. Plus our ranged troops, as they come in, are taking out all of the enemies firing from this inner gallery here, and severely reducing their ability to use the fact they have us choke pointed here. They won't be able to attack us very much with those ranged troops. So eventually those gates open up and a brawl ensues. Hard to tell what's going on, and really it's just a grind with our numbers versus theirs, and we have more troops waiting to try and get in, so we do eventually manage to break our way through and get openings into this final courtyard of the castle, which again is swarming with enemies. They've got loads of skirmishing troops back here, arranged in this very open formation, this kind of staggered skirmishing formation, which would work if they could fall back, but they can't. So our men are well able to just charge in and take them out, because we still have numerical advantage, so a loose formation is going to really screw them over. So at this point all we need to do is wait for our men to work their way through all these archers, cutting them down. We have so many superior melee troops, the enemy can't do much at this point, and soon the final enemy is found right at the back here and taken out. So the battle's over, it's a victory. The cost looks pretty high, but the prize is very large too. We've taken Kanazawa and theoretically now have destroyed the Ikoiki.
Charge them, don't wait.
Thank the heavens.
What?
It's over, Your Majesty.
You've had a nice little sleep, and kept me from doing the same, I should add. Sorry, what happened?
You hit your head. I sorted you out, don't worry.
Thank you, Mary. This is the castle.
Yep, we won, of course. Here, your little doll has food and water for you.
Oh, Nariko, you have my thanks. It hurts when I move my head. If Your Majesty wishes, I will feed it to you. Yes, okay, please.
Well, since you have all the help you need, I guess I'll get some rest too. Oh wait, the prayers.
I haven't missed the ceremony.
No, College is sorting it out. Lots of Eco prisoners to settle in first, and mess to clear up. The dead are already prepared.
We have to include the Eco dead at the same time.
I don't think the troops would appreciate that.
But we have to show the Eco that we're on their side. We want them to support us, support me, even if they won't support the samurai. We must treat them equally to our own troops, dead and living alike.
Oh dear. I feel like if Koch were here, he'd find a way to talk you out of all this. Nagako-san, surely you can explain what the common troops would think of this.
You should obey your lady's wishes, Mary-chan.
That's the most you've said to me all day, and it's just filler. Well fine, I will go and find Koch and sort it out.
Take me with you.
What? You're meant to be trying to avoid your own funeral, not attending someone else's.
I have to be there. I have to show them that I am a part of this as much as they.
Yeah, I know. You forget I've been reading your mind for years now. Alright, up you get then.
Slowly now.
Yeah, good idea. You're heavier than you used to be. Nagako here feeding you well, huh?
Nagako, please help. Majesty?
Move your legs a little. Looks a bit more dignified than just having us haul you about. Right, let's go have some fun with the stairs then. Kanazawa has been captured, and here is the cost of doing so. Losses for Nariko's party very high, 18 killed and 115 wounded, leaving the party basically unable to act until those wounded are healed. But at least the number of actual deaths wasn't all that high. It's going to be higher for our allied troops. You can see all the different kinds of troops being involved in the battle and being killed or wounded, with over 70 killed and over 330 wounded by that fight. Our Imperial forces have basically been heavily diminished. The enemy losses a little bit lower than ours, but they did of course have that defender's advantage, and the losses on the enemy side represent the last of all of their forces, so now they don't have any territory at all, although they do have some roaming military forces elsewhere who now have no lands to support them. So anyway, we free a lord from imprisonment in Kanazawa and can take on some prisoners to add to our force, and now we have the option to give Kanazawa to one of our vassals, and we do want to do that because the vassal lords under us will expect territory in order to reward their loyalty and their services to us. And you can see here Lord Kagura is suspicious of us apparently and has only a village for a fief, so we can offer him the city of Kanazawa, and all the other lords under us will have their relationship with us impacted by that because they feel passed over, and that's something we're going to have to just deal with as we go on, trying to manage how the lords feel about Nariko. And that means Lord Kagura will now be responsible for defending the city, so hopefully he'll be up to this relatively large task. We also have the option to plunder the city, but the amount of money you get for doing so is tiny in comparison to what the city actually makes for you if you leave it all intact, so definitely don't want to do that. So now we have all of this new territory, all of the villages that were linked to the city turn over to our side as well, now that Kanazawa has fallen. All we need to do is actually go and hunt down the remaining eco forces. First I wanted to show you here our weekly budget report. You can see we're making tens of thousands of mon a week now, and it's mainly because we control Kyoto. Nariko's personal control of the capital gives her a huge income because of all the trade going through it. She makes loads of money taxing the trade. So now we basically have infinite funds to work with until things change. So Nariko starts heading north, searching for the Eco army, which we did see earlier outside the city roaming around, and it's still up there. I wanted to wait here overnight for a bit now that we had them trapped in this peninsula to get more wounded troops healed up, and after a while we have a small numerical advantage over the Eco army, so I start going after them, and there's nowhere they can run up here because they are trapped. We initiate battle, and the terrain is really good for us because we come onto the field on this hill, and the enemy will have to run across those lowlands in front of us to get anywhere near us. Nariko getting an extremely cheeky headshot there as she orders her troops to form up in front of her. We're going to have a nice powerful formation on the side of this hill overlooking the enemy's advance, where our skirmishers and Onobushi will have a great time attacking the enemy before they arrive. And I'm going to be trying to direct the cavalry to stage a flank attack. The use of cavalry in field battle is something Nariko is having to get used to, because normally she didn't have the money to field cavalry, but now we can use these very expensive units. The enemy actually starts routing as they approach us, and the cavalry will now have a great time. They start to strike from the flank once they're in position, and as the bulk of the enemy forces actually turn and refuse to run up this hill towards us, the cavalry starts smashing into the few troops left behind and can pursue those already making their escape. Pretty much no chance for this Eco army, so this battle proved to be much easier than expected, although my horse has taken an arrow right to the head apparently, which doesn't look very nice. Our force is not even threatened at all, and we didn't really even need to move. So that Eco army is wiped out. There's still a risk though that another one could appear from somewhere else and take Kanazawa, because it only has a few troops actually guarding it right now. We need Lord Kagura to arrive to come and station his troops there to defend it, and he happens to arrive at this very moment. So now the defense of the city has been improved, and he will now be responsible for hiring new troops to add to the garrison, which hopefully he will be doing. So with that done, our military actions are basically coming to a close. So I go to Nariko and tell her to spread the message around that our military campaign is officially over and the vassals don't need to do anything towards it anymore. They can go back to doing whatever they wish to do, hopefully defending all the territory I have given them. And then we get official confirmation that the Iko Iki as a faction have been annihilated. So hopefully news of this will spread far and wide and build Nariko's fame and legitimacy. Oh look, it's your chief advisor come to meet you at the gates.
Best behaviour, everyone.
Well done, everyone. You've made me very proud.
Thank you, Mother. And how have you been?
I only just returned myself. Not much luck with the diplomacy, afraid to say.
That's okay. It will take time for the lords to accept anything but war. Thanks for trying, though. No, but of course, feels like I'm 20 years younger again. I miss the clothes and the food and the courtesies. I don't think I shall want to return to Hokkaido anytime soon. I understand completely, my lady. Will the Imperial Mother be joining us for a parade through the city? No, this was nothing to do with me. Warriors' honors for the warriors. I will await you in my chamber, Nariko, to relay word from Great Lord Oda. Right, I'll be there soon, I think. Better get moving, the troops are starting to push. Bye! Don't drink too much. Dignity is your closest ally. Does she know you don't drink? What? She was talking to you. I resent the implication.
Well, that's a rather dignified way of putting it. You're learning as much from your imperial aunt as you are from the books, clearly.
Just don't want to swear in front of Nagiko. She'll be awfully frightened.
Come now, Mary-chan. She's at her lady's side even in the heat of battle.
I'm surprised you noticed. She's so quiet she blends into that saddle and passes as a pile of baggage. Better than a constantly buzzing pile of... excuse me, sorry.
What witty baggage we have.
God, don't... can we not argue right now? Look at the size of that crowd.
Oh dear. Happy faces and waving all round then, at the risk of sounding a little too motherly for you, my lady. Over the course of a few months, the imperial administration had been rejuvenated, taking over the Miyoshi domain with a new direct rule scheme that bypassed the authority of the local samurai. By tradition, Nariko had gained dictatorial powers over these lands, but being unfamiliar with any uses for such powers, she mostly left it to the samurai to continue on as before, albeit with their rights to wage war for their own causes stripped away. It was a stable arrangement, if not too different from what had come before, but it was an improvement, and Nariko's new ambition was to impose a similar rule of peace across the land with an imperial ban on warfare. But even with the regalia at her side, few of the samurai lords could be convinced that such a thing was either wise or within her power. Thank you so much for watching. Some of the samurai lords are going to make their opinion on the ban on war very clear in the next episode of Nariko's Treasure.